Hello, ETF fans. Mike here with a quick hitter. Want to dive into what we're seeing in terms of some flow trends across the ETF market landscape, specifically how those flows are breaking down across different markets. So whether the US or global ex-US, emerging dev ex-US, some interesting trends carrying over from last year, but I think potentially accelerating quite a bit. And I wanted to highlight those for you today in this quick hitter video. So gonna hop into the member access side of the platform. As a reminder, completely free to create an account. Everything I'm gonna show you in today's video is free. Just gotta take a couple seconds to build out that free account. So I'm gonna navigate on the side panel here to our navigator under databases. This is where you can mix and match all of our different tools, all of our different categories, classifications to aggregate up ETF data across asset classes, different categories, different factors, you name it, you can do it here in the Navigator tool. But for this video, I went ahead and pre-built and saved a screen called Equity Flows by Market. I did that. What you can see is I'm now looking at one grouping. This is all US equity, all size and style equity ETFs broken out across the different markets. So we have four primary markets. We classify ETFs. The US, you can see 7.28 trillion, 883 billion in dev ex-US. That means they're only focused on developed markets. Emerging means they're primarily focused on emerging markets or exclusively focused on emerging markets. And global ex-US, which is a mix of both emerging and dev ex-US and not a specific mandate for one or the other. So obviously the US dominates in terms of AUM, but if we just kind of look across the fields I put together here, just on a 1-year basis as an example, we can see the average return of the 106 emerging market ETFs over the past year is up 36% on the 1 year compared to 12.36 for the average. Now, that's not the benchmarks. That's all 941 size and style US ETFs, which includes small cap, mid cap. So that's much lower than you'd see if you're looking just the S&P 500, which is up over 20% in that time period. But showing you that average return for all those companies. More importantly, though, what I want to look at is flows. So on a 1-year basis, it's not as big as what we've seen in the past in terms of the US dominance, but it's still US dominance, right? 550 billion of the 750 into these equity ETFs over the last year has been US. But look at that on a year-to-date basis. And yes, US is still leading, but only of all the categories. If you add up these non-US groups, right? If I wanted to group it, for example, throw in a classification grouping for composite before I do market, you can see actually global ex-US has brought in 25 billion year to date. So a complete upside down of what you'd expect in terms of the actual AUM. Big trend going on there. Real quick before I end this quick insight, and I want to highlight what that means in terms of flows and dial in on emerging. So I'm going to apply my settings to my charts tool. I'm going to open up charts. We can see real quickly 82% of all these assets in the US, 9%, 10% dev ex-US, so on and so forth. But I just want to show you what this looks like visually on the flows basis. And specifically, I'm going to get rid of the US to show you just kind of that acceleration of flows that we've seen. And even more so, if I just dial it into emerging markets, so far in January, so going all the way back to the first ever emerging markets ETF launched back in the early 2000s, going back all the way in time on a monthly basis through today's January 23rd, we've already set an all-time record for flows into emerging markets. So, and this is going on some pretty big months, the last couple months, November and December, of very large flows. So clearly an acceleration of flows into this space. And I just wanted to hop on, show you how you can use the platform to identify those trends, dive into them, understand them a little bit more. I think it's worth keeping an eye on. Today's Friday, so have a great weekend, everyone. And thanks for watching this quick video insight.